That's the way I
That's
see
the way I
it.
see
That's
it.
where I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's where you see it.
That's the way I see
That's
it.
the way I see
That's the way
it.
I see it.
That's why I see it.
Welcome to this episode of The Way I See It. I'm your host, Austin Darga. On today's episode, I'll be talking to a young man with Down syndrome along with his dad, who together own a successful social enterprise selling colorful, fun socks, or what they like to call crazy socks. I am so proud of this father-son duo and how far they have come, and I can't wait for you to hear their impressive story. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to have with me today the man who recently won Entrepreneur of the Year. He, along with his dad, own the world's largest sock store on Long Island, New York, and not only are they doing business to spread happiness to their customers, they also give 5% of their earnings to the Special Olympics, and they've been featured on various networks such as ABC, PBS, and Fox. So, without further ado, please help me welcome John and Mark Cronin of John's Crazy Socks.
Hey, Austin.
Hey, we're so excited to
Come on.
be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So, John, take us back to the beginning to how John's Crazy Socks came to be and moved forward into what it is today.
Well, you want to tell them the whole story?
What do you think, Dad?
Okay. So, Austin, you got to go back to the fall of 2016. And our story starts in a small log cabin in the woods.
No.
No. It starts here on suburban Long Island. And John, where were you?
I was at Hunter High School. I could be my last school.
John's was in his last year of high school, like everybody else, trying to figure out what comes next. What were you looking
I
at?
like a job, program, and school. I can find a craft I can like.
Couldn't find anything he liked. And this is an unfortunate reality. Only 1 in 5 people with a disability in the United States is employed. It's awful.
Yeah.
John here, he is a natural entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
He didn't see that as a problem. He saw it as an opportunity. And if you couldn't find a job, you were going to make one, right?
I did.
And what'd you tell me?
I told my partner, I was gonna be with him, and I said, I'm gonna be with our fathers have been together.
John said, let's start a business together.
Yes,
So we had to figure out what that business would be, right?
right.
You had a lot of ideas.
Yes, I do.
What was one of them?
One of them is a food truck. I saw a great movie called Chef and John Favreau. The movie about father and son bonding the food truck.
So everybody out there loves a food truck. You love, the foods
Yeah.
you can get there. You like getting what? Barbecue?
I love barbecue.
So we're thinking, what could we make? Where would we put our food truck? But we ran into a problem.
We can cook.
Yeah, we can't cook. So it wasn't going to be a food truck. But then, right before Thanksgiving, John had his eureka moment.
Yes, it did. I want to sell crazy socks. Why socks? It's fun. It's colorful. It's craft. It always let me be me.
John had worn these crazy socks his whole life. We used to drive around looking for them. We thought if John loved them that much,
I call it other people too.
other people would too. We could find those people. So that's where the idea came from. And then we went what you call the lean startup route. We didn't do a lot of planning. We didn't, try to figure everything out. We said, let's get something up and running, and our customers will let us know if this is a good idea. So, John, you already had the name.
I got a name. I told website cover ideas.
We built a website. We got a little bit of inventory. The only marketing we did was to set up a Facebook page, and I would take out my cell phone, and we made videos. And Austin, what do you think was in those videos?
I want to say John's Crazy Socks.
John, right?
Yes.
John was in the videos. And
John was in the video wearing his crazy socks. Am I right?
You are right.
Absolutely.
And talking about socks, you even came up with a catchphrase.
I did. It's socks, more socks.
And we noticed people started sharing those videos. And then What day did we open?
We opened out on December 9th to the 16th.
It was a Friday,
Yeah.
and we didn't know what to expect. But that first day, we got what felt like a flood of orders. We got 42 orders,
Wow.
and most of them were local. So how did we deliver those?
Our home deliveries, we get red boxes, put in a stock in the box. We put in a chicken we put in a candy, or 100 kisses.
And we loaded up the car and drove around. And John, you knocked on doors delivering the sock.
Yes, I did.
And how'd the customers respond?
Our customers love me.
They loved you, huh? And people started sharing on social media, so we began to grow. At the end of that month, really 2 weeks up to Christmas, we had shipped 452 orders, and we knew we had something. We knew we could make a business of it. We didn't know how big it would grow. We didn't know how fast it would grow. So today, well, we've grown the business.
Yes.
We're in our 9th year. We've now shipped over 475,000 orders to 89 different countries. Been able to create 34 jobs. 22 of those are held by people with differing abilities. John, in our Giving Back program, John has donated over $800,000 to our charity partners. And you like to say,
I'm just getting started.
just getting started.
Wow, that is such an amazing story. So it sounds to me like after graduating high school, you weren't really sure what to do because of the issue that the disability community unfortunately faces and is still facing today. And you had to jump through a lot of hurdles to, try to find the right fit for you. And it turns out that God really had a plan for you. Once you were open-minded to brainstorming all these ideas, you tried each and every one of them, and you were unstoppable until you found just that right thing that worked for you. And it turned out that the crazy sock idea was a big hit. It was booming and skyrocketed. That's just really great, because I am in that very same boat for you. I had a really, really interesting school career. Just a little bit of background on me. I started going to school and having an IEP when I was 2 years old. Of course, I don't remember back that far, but I had a very interesting school career from when I was 2 years old till I was 26. When I graduated from the post-secondary program at age 26 in the summer of 2021, I wasn't really sure what was going to be available for me. I had some ideas that I really wanted to do with working with these multiple agencies through school. I've always had a knack and a passion for radio and helping people and broadcasting. And graduating school, I was employed at the job that I'm currently doing now here at Grand Traverse Industries. At first, I really wasn't all that big on it because I didn't think that it was going to be very fitting for me. And I think my parents, especially my mom, felt the same exact way. But after I worked here for a while, I expressed to my staff and my case manager from Community Mental Health here in Michigan what I felt passionate about and what I wanted to do. And after being here for a couple of years, GTI got to know me really well. They saw a lot of confidence in me for what I could do. They were able to come up with this position of me being the official spokesperson. And so they asked me, they had some opportunities available. They asked me if I was interested in them. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And it turned out that myself, along with the help of them, were able to find just the right fit for me. And so through a lot of trial and errors as well over time, I was really blessed with being able to overcome those obstacles, just as you have, John, and not give up, just move forward to the best of my ability. They say that good things come to those who wait, and because I did all that, it really paid off, even though it was really hard. And look at where I'm at. I'm finally now here doing this podcast and interviewing great people like you. What do you think of that?
Wow.
Wow.
You're inspiring. What a great story.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And, speaking of helping people and being successful, John, you often refer to people with disabilities as people having differing abilities, which I personally would like to highly commend you on because, unfortunately, just like your dad mentioned, a lot of people who have disabilities or differing abilities tend to get looked down upon. People like us get treated like we're less than in a lot of cases. And so just saying the word differing ability makes the word disability sound more demeaning. And I actually find it very helpful. And so thanks to you for doing that. And with that being said, why is this distinction so important?
Well, anyway, I can offer why we do it. Disability speaks to limitation. It suggests there's a problem. Differing abilities says we all have different strengths and different weaknesses. There are things we're good at. There are things we're not going to be good at. And that's what we ought to recognize. That way we understand we all have more in common than what separates us.
Oh, I totally agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Yeah, I feel the same exact way. And I think that the more that we can make people aware of that and wake up and realize that we don't need to be divided from anybody else, focus more on what we're able to do. The saying that I always tell people when I do my public speaking events is, we are people first before our disability. We want to get out there and show people what we can do and what kind of things that we're capable of, because all it takes is just us having a chance. The more opportunity we have that chance, then my hope is that the better society will treat us as a whole. You're absolutely right. We really are no different than anyone else. Of course, we may need certain accommodations. We may do things differently than somebody else does, but it takes a variety of different people to make the world go round. And every single person in this world, I don't care who you are, has a different way of doing things, disability or not. And each one of us has our own personality and our own uniqueness about us. And I just feel, just like you, that if more people recognize that, then we could be better served as a community and as a whole.
We wholeheartedly agree, right? John, all you've ever asked for is an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
We focus on what people can do, not what they can't do. If you focus on people's strengths, you're going to be amazed. John, you do an awful lot of things in this business.
I do.
We don't ask John to do our finances, but that's true about a lot of people. They're not great necessarily with math, but they can go and do other things.
Yeah.
If you focus on what people can do, you're better off. And in a business, that's good business. That's just our approach of the way we view the world.
Oh, sure. And it's a great learning opportunity for all of us. They say that you learn something new every day, and I totally believe that 100%. I believe that we never stop learning and growing until the day we die. And, just because you're completed one chapter of your life, whether you graduated school or expanded your career, that doesn't mean that you're just done. No, you continue to move forward and expand and grow your opportunities as much as possible. I actually said this very same thing with a group of students who I spoke to last week, who are getting ready to graduate school and prepare for the future and transition into adulthood. And speaking of that, John, I recently saw a video where your dad had said, it's not altruism to hire people with differing abilities. It's just good business. So, Mark, could you please explain to my audience what you meant by that?
Sure. Too often you hear about organizations or businesses that want to hire people with differing abilities as kind of a side project, as a form of charity. Oftentimes only nonprofits and charities work, giving jobs to people with differing abilities. We always want to make the business case that hiring people with differing abilities is good business. It's going to give you access to a broader pool and therefore a better pool of potential employees. You're going to tap into talent you didn't have access to before. At a time, particularly in the United States, where we have a growing labor shortage, you're going to gain a competitive advantage because you can fill all your openings and you're going to get great employees. That's why we say this is just good business. So more than half of our colleagues have a different ability. We don't lower the standards in hiring them. Everybody here has earned a job. Everybody produces. If you got to know us, you would find out that John here is a very nice guy. I am not. If you're going to work with us, you have to produce, and everybody here does.
Wow, that's really inspiring to hear. I want to go back for just a second to what you said earlier about how many people still in this country with a differing ability are still unemployed. Back many moons ago, not only were they just facing unemployment, but they were treated, as you probably know, Mark, very poorly. We didn't even get a chance to be able to have the opportunity to get out in the world and just be a part of a community, whether it's having a job or doing social activities with other people, being able to be independent. I mean, we were just locked up in facilities. Luckily, over time, that has changed for the better. But still today, as you mentioned, people like us are still facing unemployment just due to the lack of knowledge that certain employers still have, which is very sad. But companies like ours, John's Crazy Socks and Grand Traverse Industries, are working really hard on a daily basis to try to change that perspective of people and society as a whole. That's GTI's whole entire mission, and I'm assuming that is yours too. Am I correct on that?
Well, what's our mission, pal?
Spreading happiness.
Spreading happiness. But much of what we're about is showing what people with different abilities can do. And that is all encompassing. It's, John, an entrepreneur with Down syndrome, is the face of the business. It's the hiring we do. It's what we share in our social media. We host tours and work groups so that students and other people with different abilities can see people like themselves working and owning a business. John has given a tour now to more than 3,000 people. We do podcasts. We're so grateful, Austin, that you've had us on your podcast. We do media appearances. We do speaking engagements. We travel the country giving keynote speeches. We've testified twice before Congress. We do a lot of advocacy work, all to show, look what people with different abilities can do.
Well, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be my next question for you. Speaking of you testifying twice before Congress, I also heard that you spoke at the United Nations. So please tell us what those experiences were like and how did they make you feel, John and Mark?
How did you feel when you got to speak at the United Nations?
I felt really, really good. Picking up a UN, and that makes me more impactful and more community when I speaking up in UN. That strengthens the world.
And how do you feel about testifying before Congress? We go down to Capitol Hill twice a year, right? You like doing that?
Yeah, same thing.
The same thing.
It's
For me, you always operate on multiple levels. People will pay attention to us because of our story and the business and the media attention we've gotten. And again, that's why we're so grateful, Austin, that you've had us on your podcast. But that creates an obligation on our part to use that platform to speak up, and particularly to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. So the opportunity to go before Congress was so special and empowering and humbling for us. But also, I'm there as a dad, and to sit in the U.S. Capitol next to my son and speak to power like that, what an experience, how overwhelming. I admire what John does so much, and that had me well up with pride.
You're listening to The Way I See It. We're talking with John and Mark Cronin of John's Crazy Socks. We'll be right back with more after a word from our sponsor. Spring is on the way, and that means baseball season is almost here! Dream Team Northern Michigan is a 501c3 nonprofit baseball league where people of all abilities can find success. Players 8 and up will enjoy the new universally accessible dugouts at the Grand Traverse Civic Center. This spring, spend your Saturday mornings volunteering at the coolest game in town. Your donation will help players of all abilities have fun, build character, and make memories. For more information, visit DreamTeamNMI.com. That's DreamTeamNMI.com. We're back on The Way I See It with John and Mark Cronin of John's Crazy Socks. Speaking of going on Capitol Hill, I have the perfect opportunity for you that I would highly recommend that you look into. There's this nationwide organization that works with individuals with differing abilities called Source America. Have you guys ever heard of them or no?
We have.
Okay, well, I don't know if you're aware, but each year they do this conference in Washington, D.C. called the Grassroots Self-Advocacy Conference. And I got the opportunity to be invited there for the first time this past September. This trip that I just took was the most golden opportunity of my lifetime and the most memorable trip of my lifetime. I've mentioned that several times in the podcast since I've done it. You get to do a whole bunch of different really cool things there to help out people with differing abilities. You get to share your self-advocacy story, so you get to go up in front of a whole bunch of people and speak upon your behalf of your life story and all of the experiences that you have that have gotten you to where you are today. And not only that, but you will also get the opportunity to go up on Capitol Hill and speak to your state representatives about issues concerning the disability community. And not only that, but you'll also get the opportunity to do fun things as well. One thing is the Monuments by Moonlight bus tour, where you will get to take a bus ride and just ride around Washington, D.C. to all of the different monuments. This year we checked out the Lincoln Memorial, and I got to stand on the step where Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And so I really, really hope, John, that one of these years you will be chosen to go to the Grassroots Self-Advocacy Conference in DC. I really hope that I get invited back because it was an experience of a lifetime. I would be really excited if you and your dad were there one year, because I would love to be able to meet you in person, and I think you would just have an absolute rockin' good time with it.
That would be really wonderful.
Wow, nice. I like that.
Moving forward here, speaking of politicians and talking to different people, I understand that John got to become sock buddies with President Bush, and both of you are more than welcome to elaborate on this, but could you tell us what that was all about?
Yeah, I put in a backstory. I just my idea. I know former President George W. Bush I like wearing socks, and I said I wanted him a box of socks.
Right, we saw that newspaper article. John said, I want to send him socks. You say that about a lot of people, right?
Thank
I
you.
send him socks. So what'd you do?
I sent him a pair of socks.
You threw away some whole box of socks.
All the box. It's wonderful. And they sent me a sock.
Well, his office called.
Called.
Said that the former president loved the socks and wanted more socks.
Yeah, they wanted more.
So you sent him more socks. So what'd he send you?
He sent me a USO socks.
He sent John
I
socks.
sent me a sock. And also that I was good with it.
Yeah,
He wrote me a nice, formally letter.
right. So they started exchanging letters and socks. And then the former president started tweeting out pictures of him wearing John's socks and talking about how important the business was,
Yeah.
because that's what he had in mind when he signed the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that was all pretty cool. Huh, son?
Absolutely,
You
Dad.
got to be sock buddies with the president.
I do.
So not only did you get to connect with the President of the United States with him wanting a pair of your socks and ordering them, but you guys were able to exchange contacts back and forth and write letters to each other. Good for you, John. You really definitely made an impact there.
You know, what you're doing with your work and with the podcast that you have, this is the fulfillment of the ADA. What John is doing, running a business, this is the promise of the ADA. The ADA was signed before you were born, John.
Yeah.
But without it, you never would have gotten the education you got. You wouldn't have had the access to the services and support you've had.
You're really touching and impacting a lot of lives. I thank you very much for doing that. For those who are interested, anyone who's hearing this and who are now like really intrigued and interested in ordering a pair of your socks, I hear that when you do order a pair of John's Crazy Socks, you also get a piece of candy and a thank you note. Is this true?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What goes in every package, John?
Every package I get thinking note I wrote personally, and I put in candy.
Candy, and you see on your packing slip the sticker with the name and a picture of the person who packed your order.
Absolutely.
And if people want to get those socks, John, where do they go?
I'll go at johnscrazysocks.com.
johnscrazysocks.com.
Don't forget the S.
I won't. And people can also find us on every social media platform. Just look for John's Crazy Socks.
Yeah, don't forget the S with it.
Yeah, I won't. John's Crazy Socks.
I think that you'll be getting a lot more customers, John. And I would personally like to mention that rumor does have it that is true, because I fairly recently ordered a pair of your socks that came just in time for Valentine's Day. And I ordered the socks that say, "Be the person your dog thinks you are." That had really important and personal meaning to me. I really appreciate you having product that reaches out to all of your customers.
Well, thank you. That's so nice.
Thank you very much.
You know, and John, we have a podcast too. It's different than yours. What's the name of our podcast?
A Spreading Happiness.
The Spreading Happiness podcast with John and Mark, right?
And Mark.
It's just the two of us trying to spread a little happiness. We always have a bit, we talk about what's on John's mind, which can be shocking sometimes.
I know.
Right? And what John is up to. We highlight a business of the week and a good news story of the week. And John tells some jokes.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Well, you want to know a couple of fun facts about me. I did that very same thing because I was so passionate about speaking and broadcasting and talking to people. I wanted to try through school to show people what I was interested in. So my last year of school before I graduated, I got the opportunity to do morning announcements 2 days a week on the intercom, where I would just get on and share a news story of the day and give a weather report and tell a joke as well. And everyone in the school got to hear it, and they told me about how much they really enjoyed my announcements. And so I was really happy to be able to give the students and faculty at my school a positive start to the day. And not only that, but going back a little further, in high school, I took a class called Broadcast Communications and Mass Media, and that was the class that I looked forward to every day going to school. And I got the opportunity to have my own little 5-minute show that I called Darga's Corner, because Darga's my last name, and I just got to share like a funny, wacky little news story of the day and give my personal opinion on it. And it was just all for fun. As a kid growing up, leading up to that, my mom bought me a tape recorder, and I would, and this was back when cassettes exist. I was born in the mid '90s, so that's how you could tell that. Well, anyway, I would have a bunch of little cassette tapes that I used the tape recorder to record on, and I would pretend to do my own radio show, and I would pretend to be a DJ and a talk show host, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah, so. I could see that. And look what you've done with that. Now you got your own podcast.
I know. Well, it's all about expressing yourself and showing people what you want to do, and just taking whatever steps that you can to be able to get there. And the key thing is to never,
Yeah.
ever give up.
John, you got a lot in common with Austin, right?
Yes.
You just find a way to make it happen.
Absolutely. And also that,
Right.
and Audrey and I, we both it's entrepreneur,
You're both entrepreneurs.
and
You both have podcasts.
we have a podcast every week on Change the World.
We're working to change the world. That's right.
Wow. I think that God brought us together for a reason, and I'm really, really glad that you were inspired by the podcast. And I did check out some of your an episode of your podcast as well, and I just think that it's just absolutely inspiring, and you have a lot to offer and a lot to bring to the world, and I think that through both of our platforms that people will find a lot of strength and inspiration from it. Going back to you giving the 5% of what you do to the Special Olympics, you mentioned that you are also involved in Special Olympics. So do you do multiple, are you involved in multiple sports a year with Special Olympics? And how long have you been doing that?
I do basketball, track and field, soccer, and snowshoe.
And in fact, this weekend, where are you going?
This weekend, I got to Rochester for Special Olympics with the state games.
New York State Winter Games in Rochester.
Rochester.
John's going to be competing in the snowshoe.
Wow. Well, I was involved in a couple of organizations that deal with the visually impaired through school, and every year we would do things like snowshoeing and ski weekend up at Boyne Mountain, which is north of where we are, about an hour and a half in Boyne City, Michigan, and that was a lot of fun. And I never actually participated in the actual Special Olympics, but I have friends who have, and I've gone to a lot of their games before. And a quick fun fact about me as well. Back in 2014, I got to sing the national anthem for Special Olympics at the Grand Traverse Resort locally here. So
Wow,
That's
great. Wow.
And
yeah, and so that really blew up. It ended up going on YouTube, so you could look that up if you're ever interested. And that's part of how that got me to where I am today with my own podcast. Yours truly here.
that's awesome.
This is
Hey,
incredible.
Austin, we should let you know something else. We
What's that?
produced the world's first tactile Braille socks.
Braille socks? OMG! No kidding!
To honor people who are blind or have sight difficulties, and we donate 10% of those to the Guide Dog Foundation of America.
Oh my gosh, that just truly warms my heart. That's like the best thing that I've heard all week. I feel like we're almost brothers because I just keep on finding more connections with you and more stories I'd like to share with you. So one legacy that I did get to leave at my school, though, because of the experience that I had with my childhood dog, I had heard about a school in the district that had a therapy dog, and they were in the special ed system program just like our school was. And I thought to myself, well, I know from personal experience, how beneficial a dog can truly be in your life. And so why can't our school have a therapy dog? And so what I ended up doing was writing a letter and making a video to our superintendent and going to present it to him. And he invited me to come to a school board meeting the following fall. And I did just that. I agreed, and I went and represented my case to why a therapy dog would be so important for our school, because the secondary school that I went to is all students with differing abilities. There was a couple of concerns that they had at first. They weren't really sure because of all the rules and regulations and policies they would have to follow. But luckily enough, about a month before COVID started, a VI teacher, a visually impaired who works with people like myself who are blind in the district, just happened to have a dog that she had trained to be a therapy dog, and she was authorized to come to our school once a week with the dog, and I got the opportunity to join them every week as a job, as a duty to walk with the dog and take the dog to each classroom around the school so every student can see her. And we're still in contact to this day. I actually had her on the podcast several months ago. Her name's Dawn Staley. Because of that, the therapy dog program was able to grow, and now they're at the Life Skills Center, the local school, 2 days a week, and they've been able to expand to go to other schools as well. So not only is she having a job as a VI teacher, but she's also a part of the therapy dog program that I luckily was able to help move forward. And so that was probably, I think, the greatest of the greatest accomplishments that I'm mostly proud of my whole entire school career.
That sounds awesome. That's so impressive. And that would be helpful.
Yeah, it would be. I must say that it was truly an honor and a pleasure to be able to have you guys on with us today and being able to get to know you guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be here with us today and sharing all of your good graces and spreading happiness to myself and my audience. It was the best thing that's happened to me all week. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Austin.
Thank you for listening to The Way I See It. This podcast is brought to you by Grand Traverse Industries, a Northern Michigan nonprofit whose mission is to fiercely advocate, strengthen, and advance the dignity and opportunity of people with disabilities. Our theme is composed by Nick Vane, and our producer is Micah Haven. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, but in the meantime, this is Austin Darga reminding you that life is a journey. No matter where it takes you, always go where your heart leads you.